You're watching Canadian Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. From Toronto, Ontario, I'm Samia Sayed. Welcome to the show. Today we have an interview with Fatema Abdalla, the Communications Coordinator at the National Council of Canadian Muslims over the controversial Bill 21. But first, some headlines. Alberta NDP MLA resigns after RCMP searches home. Critic of Bill 21 appointed to Superior Court of Quebec as judge. Prestigious journal apologizes for publishing a letter against hijab. Fund shortages in UN cut food aid by $5 million in Yemen. And now the details. Thomas Dang, a member of the Legislative Assembly in Alberta, resigned from the NDP caucus after the RCMP conducted a search in his home. The RCMP started an investigation on the ground that private information was being accessed from the vaccination records portal. No charges or arrests have been made so far, though the investigation will take time. Dang said on Twitter that he found a vulnerability in the online vaccination system back in September and had it corrected shortly after. He sent his resignation to the NDP caucus as the investigation is still ongoing. Azimuddin Hussein has been appointed as a judge at the Superior Court of Quebec for the District of Montreal. David Lametti, the Minister of Justice and Attorney General of Canada, announced the decision earlier this week. Hussein worked as a lawyer since 2002 and has experience in all levels of courts, including that of Quebec, the Federal Court, and the Supreme Court of Canada. He is also trilingual in English, French, and Urdu. Hussein made headlines earlier last year while opposing the controversial Bill 21 in Quebec's Superior Court. The Canadian Medical Association Journal apologized after they published a controversial letter by Dr. Sharif Emil. Emil said that the hijab, niqab, and burqa were instruments of oppression used against Muslim women. Kirsten Patrick, the editor of the journal, took responsibility for the publication and apologized for any harm caused to the people. The apology follows an action alert issued by the National Council of Canadian Muslims, who said that the article contributed to harmful stereotypes of Muslims. The United Nations World Food Programme, otherwise known as WFP, said that it will reduce food assistance to war-torn Yemen as of January due to funds shortages. WFP said it is running out of funds to provide food aid for 13 million Yemenis and will continue to support around 61% of their initial targeted people. Available resources will be directed to those in the most critical state. Yemen is currently engulfed in what some experts consider to be the world's worst human-made humanitarian crisis. According to the WFP, more than 16 million people, or half of the country's population, suffers from acute hunger. That's it for the news today. Coming up now, we have an interview with Fatema Abdalla, the Communications Coordinator at the National Council of Canadian Muslims, regarding the controversial Bill 21. Earlier this month, we saw a teacher in Quebec was reassigned from her position after she was wearing a hijab, which is in direct violation of Bill 21, a controversial law in Quebec that prevents the wearing of any religious symbols while in positions of public authority. So to speak to us today now, we have Fatema Abdalla, the Communications Coordinator at the National Council of Canadian Muslims. Welcome, Fatema. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for having us.
So I told everyone watching just a little bit about Bill 21. Can you tell us, for the people who are watching and who may not know what the bill is, what is so controversial about it?
Yeah, so, well, first of all, to just highlight some of the things that you have mentioned, Bill 21 is a law in Quebec that bans Muslims who wear the hijab, individuals who wear the turban, as well as Jews who wear the kippah, from taking several public service jobs, including teaching, as well as becoming a prosecutor, as well as public service jobs such as police officers and etc. And what makes it so controversial is the fact that it's a form of second-class citizenship in Quebec, and right here in Canada, withholding minority religious groups from expressing their identities and having them choose between their identities and their careers.
Mm-hmm. So I know that the bill is currently being challenged in Quebec courts. Can you tell us a little bit about its status?
Yeah, so very recently, earlier this year, we heard a decision from the Supreme Court of Canada where parts of Bill 21 had been struck. However, a lot of individuals are still being discriminated against because of what they wear or how they choose to express their religious identities and their faiths by having to pick between their careers and their identities. And so currently, where we are at is we will be appealing the decision of the Supreme Court judge to the Quebec Court of Appeal.
Mm-hmm. And so what was the reaction that you got or you saw from the people after this teacher was reassigned from her position because of Bill 21?
So it was interestingly very shocking to see that a lot of Canadians were shocked by by this recent incident because we've been calling for action and we've been calling for change ever since Bill 21 had been passed, since the day it had been passed in 2019. So to think that now is what has shocked Canadians is very interesting to see. However, we did see a lot of calls for action and calls for more, and a lot of results driven by that. So it's getting somewhere, inshallah.
Mm-hmm. And so we saw in the past week or two that several mayors have contributed to the legal fight against Bill 21 by committing to $100,000. What do you expect to see from other levels of government or even the same level all across Canada now?
Yeah. Well, first of all, we like to give our thanks to Mayor Patrick Brown and the several mayors across Canada who have committed to standing with racialized Quebecers in this fight against Bill 21 and this fight against this discriminatory law. It is very important for every single level of government to stand up and take action against this bill. We're way past the time for action. We're at this point in time where individuals continue to be discriminated against and racialized because of their faiths, and enough is enough. So what we're calling for in terms of action is to see the federal government step up and intervene in this challenge against Bill 21.
Mm-hmm. And Prime Minister Justin Trudeau earlier last week mentioned a little bit about intervention. What does intervention look like at the federal level?
Well, currently, if as per my understanding, the Prime Minister hasn't agreed to intervention as of yet. What they are stating is that they do believe that the law is discriminatory, but that they don't see the need for the federal government to intervene. However, we're saying the opposite because obviously this law is discriminatory and against basic human rights of Quebecers and racialized minorities across Quebec, and enough is enough. It's about time that we see the federal government get up and do something about it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so what has NCCM done in reaction to this whole event of the teacher being reassigned?
Yeah, so we did release a petition on and www.change.org/defeatbill21. Last time I checked, it was over 40,000 signatures, and this action, this advocacy, seeing 40,000 Canadians stand up and say that enough is enough and we need to see the federal government intervene in this legal challenge just says a lot. And with this, we have also seen Jagmeet Singh and the NDP state their endorsement for an intervention as well. And so we're seeing a lot of change. And what we need to do right now is continue to push the government, continue to push Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, and continue to push Conservative leader Erin O'Toole to call for the same action.
Mm-hmm. And in this challenge against Bill 21, there are several organizations, NCCM being one of them, that are involved in it. Can you tell us a little bit about the other organizations and why it's so important to have multiple organizations involved in this challenge?
Yeah, so NCCM, along with CCLA, as well as the World Sikh Organization, and many other civil liberties organizations and groups, have been calling for change and have been calling for action against Bill 21, but have also been working on the legal challenge against it. And this is an issue that discriminates against the basic human rights and dignity of many Quebecers across the province, and so it showcases that it's not just a Muslim issue, it's not just a Sikh issue, it's an issue against the human rights of Quebecers in the province.
Mm-hmm. And we saw with this teacher being reassigned that this was only maybe even one case of Bill 21 affecting the people. Is this the only case that has been publicized, or is the only case that's happened that we just don't know of?
So this is not the only case of its kind. There have been many teachers who have lost their jobs because of the religious symbols that they've worn, whether it be their hijabs, their turbans, or their kippas. And another publicized, another issue of this kind that we have seen in the public eye was the issue regarding Amrit Kaur not being able to get a position because of her religious symbol. And so it obviously there's this strength in being able to come out and share the experiences that you're facing. And we do have to take that into account. And it's an issue that a lot of Quebecers are facing, and we need to do more on.
Mm-hmm. And so for the people that are watching who, are ordinary people just watching to learn more about Bill 21, what can you tell them? How can they involve themselves in this legal challenge?
Well, what I would say is to continue to call for action. We have seen our advocacy take a lot of strides, and I do believe that together we can make a difference. What we have to do is continue to push the federal government to intervene as the next logical step against Bill 21. And we're way far from the time when this should have happened. Bill 21 is a discriminatory law that has been causing second-class citizenship against Quebecers for over several months now, and it's about time that we see action and we see it soon. And I truly believe that when the more of us stand up against it, we could truly cause some change.
That's definitely true. Well said. Thank you so much, Fatema, for coming to be here on today's show. It was great to have you here.
Thank you so much for having us. Take care.
You were watching Canadian Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. This was your host, Samia Sayed. That's it from our Toronto studios tonight. Make sure to like and subscribe to our channel. But in the meantime, stay safe and God bless.